Welcome to Steps Forward with Ricky, a weekly walking podcast designed to help you take steps forward in your life and your day.
Hello. If you're watching this, you can see that there is a beautiful canyon behind me, which means that I'm still on my trip. I was supposed to go home on January 1st, but I couldn't get on the plane. Wait a minute. Before I continue, I just keep forgetting this part because I'm not in the studio. But if you're a new listener, welcome. I don't usually podcast on mountains, but here we are today. Welcome to the podcast. As always, this is a walking podcast. So you must be moving your feet, putting one foot in front of the other as you're listening. It's very, very important. Besides, I just climbed a freaking mountain. So if I can do it, you can do it. Welcome. I'm still on my trip. I was leaving Sedona on December 23rd to go visit my parents in Phoenix. And I got to Phoenix and I was like, I can't leave. Like, I can't get on the plane on January 1st. And it sounded kind of crazy when I said it out loud. But then it also didn't really sound that crazy because, I don't know, it was a feeling. It was like, this is not done yet. You're not done yet. And I think the old me that was wrapped up in trauma and in pain would have said, you know what? You got to go home, Ricky. It's the responsible thing to do. You should go home. Like, you're lucky you had this trip and this is what it was supposed to be and you should just go home now. But I didn't. And I know that might sound like really irresponsible, but to me that sounds like growth. Because when you finally listen to yourself, even if the idea is crazy, and even if the people around you are like, what? Get your ass home. You tune in. And I tuned in. And for so long, I couldn't tune into my emotions because they all felt the same. I was getting high. I was anxious. I had trauma. I had all these different things that it was so hard for me to tap into what I really felt. And maybe you can relate to this. It was so hard for me to trust what I really felt. And every single day on this trip for the past 5 weeks, I have become better and stronger and more in tune with my truth. That doesn't mean it's not always hard or that I don't question things or I don't think, I don't know, Ricky, are you sure? Of course I do. Of course you will. But my belief in myself is stronger. It's greater. It's bigger. It's more powerful. And I'm going to tell you this. Truly, 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 if I didn't stop smoking and I didn't get my ass into therapy and I didn't allow myself to cry and get angry and work on myself and process my trauma and give up the thing that was keeping me so small, which was getting high, there is no way in hell I would be on this canyon podcasting right now. Zero chance. It wouldn't be possible. Because your life, it cannot change unless you change it. It cannot change if you're using something to escape. It cannot change unless you do something to change it. I mean, I've always known that. You know that. You're listening to this right now and you're like, yeah, I know that. But are you doing it? And I make no judgment because, listen, if you're new here, you should probably go back 22 episodes. You know I've gone through some fucked up shit and it's taken me a long, long ass time to feel better internally, but I'm telling you, my only regret is not doing it sooner. But I also realize that you have to do it when you're ready to do it. I will say that coming on this trip, and this podcast episode is going to be about, just my experience with this road trip and what I've learned, but I also want to talk about just pain and trauma and how to process things. And my experience over the last since September 24th, since I made the decision to stop smoking, like what that journey has been for me. Because if you're listening to this, whether it's pot or it's trauma or whatever it is in your life, like what is the thing that is stopping you? It's you. It's me. It's all of us. We stop ourselves more than anybody stops us. It's our mindset. You know, when I first got onto my trip, I started off in Oregon. And I was so scared. Like, I'm a pretty adventurous person, as you know. Obviously, I'm like sitting on the top of a canyon in Sedona. These canyons are no joke. But I remember when I was in Oregon, and maybe because it had been so long since I'd been on my own, you know, I was in a relationship, I was high, I was surrounded by my family, and it just, I think the pandemic, like, it just had been so long since I had been by myself. Like really by myself without being high or being on something in terms of like stress or trauma or whatever. I remember the first week in Oregon, I was going on a hike by myself, and it wasn't like the easiest hike in the whole world, like nothing compared to what I've done thus far. But it was my first hike by myself. And it was my first hike by myself in a new place. Obviously, I've gone on walks by myself. And I remember being really scared. Like actually legitimately scared. Like I would walk and I would like look behind me to see if someone was following me. Like crazy shit. Not that you shouldn't be smart about when you go on hikes, but I was going on a very public hike. It really wasn't that big of a deal. And for someone who was like, I'm going on a road trip for a month, you would think that I would have like a little more guts. And I remember walking down this beautiful path in Bend, Oregon, and I started crying. And I was like, what the fuck am I so scared of? It was like that feeling of fear that I had felt so many times in my life. It was like, I don't know. I'm not safe. I'm not safe. But I had never allowed myself to feel unsafe because then I would smoke or I would distract myself or I would call somebody or I don't know, would do something. And I remember saying to myself, like, you're not unsafe, Ricky. Like, you're safe now. You're okay now. Like, you are okay now. You're not surviving anymore. No one's going to come and get you. No one's going to hurt you. You know, first of all, look around you. You're in a very public place. But second of all, this fear is not external. This fear is internal. And that is when I discovered, like I knew this, I had talked about it in therapy, but until I was alone on that trail, without anything or anyone around me, I couldn't identify what the feeling was. But I didn't feel safe within myself. For so many years since my mom died, I felt unsafe in the world around me, but really in the world within me. And when you feel unsafe, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, you have a hard time making decisions. Or if you feel uncomfortable, which is like another form of feeling unsafe in your own body or in your own existence, you smoke or you drink or you eat or you do something to distract yourself. But I could never identify the feeling. So I identified the feeling that I felt unsafe internally. And that was the feeling that I had been running away from my whole life. It's like, I don't feel safe with myself. I can't protect myself from my emotions. I can't take a step forward. I can't do things. I can't make decisions. And that was a huge, huge discovery for me. It honestly makes me cry because I felt that little girl inside of me who was a little girl whose mom died, who felt unsafe without her. I obviously wasn't planning to cry, so this is not part of the plan. But it's the truth. It's like sometimes when we just allow ourselves to just be, we see and we feel the things that we've been avoiding. I remember saying to myself, like, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay. And I wasn't talking to grown-up Ricky. I was talking to little Ricky, like, you're good. Look how fucking brave you are. You stopped smoking. You survived the end of your relationship with a person you still love. You're taking steps forward. You planned a whole fucking road trip by yourself. You're on the road right now. You're doing shit that everyone told you not to do, and you're following your heart, and you're okay now. You're not alone anymore. You have yourself now. You're okay. You're gonna be okay. And it was such a beautiful moment for me because it was like a moment of growth. It was like, oh, I'm okay. Like, I'm okay. And if you're listening to this and you can relate to that feeling, like maybe you can't identify it, maybe you don't know why you feel unsafe, and you don't need to know. You don't always need to know right away. But if you want to escape, and you feel like you can't make decisions on your own, you got to get to the source. And for me, it was like this little girl. And once I discovered her, I was like, I got you. I got you. Like, it's okay. Your mom didn't just die again. You don't need to get high. You can make money you can make as much money as you want on your own. You can travel the world. You can do all the things you've ever wanted to do because you're safe now. And it was the start of my journey. Not my fucking trip, my journey. I had started the journey by by stopping to smoke. I had started the journey by going to therapy. I had started the journey by the ending of my relationship. But this was a different start of the journey. This was like exactly how the trip was supposed to start. Because from here on out, I was safe. No matter where I was. And I'm telling you right now, I had to practice this every single day. Like when I got my ass to, when I went to Utah, I got in a situation when I was climbing in Zion National Park, and I got super, super lost. And I sat on this canyon or this rock, and I started crying again. And I took a deep breath. And I was like, you're safe. You're good. You're good. You're going to be fine. And it felt so nice because I believed myself. I was like, yeah, you're badass. Like, you're going to be fine. And then I found my way back to my car and everything was fine. Then I sat in my car and I cried a little more. And I was like, no, you're good. And you know what? I just let myself cry. I was like, you're good and you can cry. Because you're growing and you're transforming. This has been the most beautiful experience of my life, this trip. I gotta tell you, if you're listening to this and you're like, should I go on a road trip? Yeah, you should fucking do it if you can. Or you should do something that makes you feel good. Not everyone's gonna agree with the thing that makes you feel good. But you should do it anyways. A lot of people told me not to take this trip. And what I realized was that they weren't telling me not to take this trip because of me. They were telling me not to take this trip because of their own fears. And that was a huge thing for me, to recognize that people state their opinions from where they're at, not necessarily from where you're at. My dad was like the biggest of them all, right? He's like, yes. He goes, this is the dumbest fucking idea you've ever had in your whole life. So I was like, Dad, that can't be possible. I've done some dumb shit. Like, there's no way this is the dumbest idea I've had. He's like, it's the stupidest idea. I've talked to all my friends about it. Everyone thinks it's so stupid, like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know what? I'm okay with that. I think that's okay. I was like, Dad, you know what the most important thing in the whole world is that I don't think it's stupid. And that I trust myself. And if I trust myself, you trust me. And then I got to when I got back to Phoenix, like a month after my trip, he was like, you did good. This might be a good thing for you. I'm like, you have issues. Like, I cannot. But it's like people express their concerns by like what you show, like your weaknesses, right? So if I ask everyone what they think about everything, that shows that I'm not confident in my own decisions. It's also like their own fears. And, there's so many things that I've had to really navigate through the last almost 4.5 months, 5 months almost. I don't know. I exaggerate time so much. You'll learn that about me. I'm like, it's 3 weeks ago. It was literally 5 days ago. stopping, not smoking opened my life up. It opened it up in scary ways of like crying and tears and going in and trauma. And then it opened my life up in the most beautiful ways. Because for the first time in my life, I am not surviving, I am living. And some days are like, I'm lonely some days. And look, I'm on the road, like I'm doing my thing. But I'm okay now. I'm safe. You're safe. And if you're listening to this and you feel unsafe and you keep thinking like, I can't quit this thing, or I can't take a step forward, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. Like, yes, you can. Yes, you fucking can. You can't do it all at once. You take one habit, one thought at a time, and you prove to yourself, you show up, and you put a little evidence in this jar that you can fucking do it. Not smoking for me. Like every day, I'm like, that's 2 more days. That's 3 more days. I got this. Calling my therapist. That was another piece of evidence. Because like following through on something, planning this road trip, even though people told me not to, another thing of evidence. Getting clients that I could create marketing videos for, and that was evidence. Being consistent with my podcast, that's evidence. All of these things are evidence, and guess what? I didn't do them all at once. I did them one by one, and some of them I did it, and then I didn't do another change until 3 weeks or a month later, but it didn't matter. Because when you make a decision to change your life, you got to go all freaking in. I was so in. I mean, if you've been following my journey, the day that I stopped smoking on September 24th of 2021, I was in. No one was stopping me from changing my life, especially me. You got to go in. You are so worth going in for. And when you go in, it's hard, but guess what? You come out so much better, and you do things you love. And for me right now in my life, I don't really know what's to come. I'm exploring, and I'm adventuring, and I'm creating, and I'm podcasting, and I'm making, videos, and I'm making money, and I'm doing all this different stuff, and that's all really great. And then there might be a time where I want to do something else. But you know what I realized is that I had spent so much time trying to find the external of like my purpose, like what, I feel like I have so many gifts and I don't want to miss out, and I got to do this and I got to do that. And I said to myself, like, how about you stop focusing on what you're meant to do and you just focus on living? What if you just focus on trying to figure out what you freaking enjoy? What makes you happy? What makes you feel good, Ricky? What makes you feel good? You, not me, you. Seriously. So when I took the pressure off of like having to figure every single thing out of my life and just being like, I'm going on the road, I'm going to plan this out, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But like my only rule for this is like, I want to create really great things, and I want to get closer to myself, and I want to enjoy myself. I somehow have been learning so much about myself just by living, not by sitting there and being like, what's my purpose? What's this? What's that? I'm like, what can I do today that I'll fucking enjoy? I've learned to be with myself again. And yeah, there's a part of me that's like, I don't know. Do I want to go back to Michigan? I'm a little scared, like definitely craving community. I'm obviously craving like, I want a partnership one day. Like these are things I think about, but I'm giving myself space. This is good for you too, to give yourself space to evolve and change. So how I feel this week, I could feel differently next week. And then I got to make sure that that feeling is like a real feeling of, okay, I'm ready to move forward and try the next thing. Just trust yourself more. Be brave enough to go in. Be brave enough to stop just blocking yourself. Be brave enough to take a step forward. Be brave enough to be your fucking self and to do things that not everyone's going to agree with. This has been so beautiful. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for myself. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for this beautiful view. I'm grateful for my mom for making me stronger. I'm grateful for everything because, like, You don't get on the top of mountains. You don't get to climb up to the top without taking some steps backwards and without the harsh lessons in between. But once you get up there, it's so beautiful. And if you're listening to this and you're like, I can't even imagine not smoking, or I can't imagine being without this person, or I can't imagine making money on my own, or I can't imagine taking a road trip on myself, like I can't imagine being healed, neither could I. And guess what? I'm doing it. You can do it. I can do it. We're doing it. If I can do it, you can do it. And by the way, the work doesn't stop. I've got so much more work to do, but I'm so committed because I don't want to survive my life. I want to live it. And so do you. So I love you. I appreciate you. I'm here for you. Follow the podcast. Reach out to me. Leave me a review on Apple Podcast. Not just a rating. Leave me a review. Tag me when you're listening in your steps, on your walks. Like, share this with a friend. Like, we're in this together. I can't believe this is 23 episodes in. Like, what? We're crushing it. Oh, so if you're new here, I usually am in a studio, and so it sounds like a little better, and obviously, like, I look a lot better because I didn't just climb a mountain, and I'm in a cool studio with my producer. But, like, this is where we're at right now. We're podcasting on canyons, and it's awesome. And I'm super happy that you're a part of it. Drink some water. Hope you had a great walk, and I will see you next Monday. I just totally kissed into the camera or mic, whatever. Okay, bye.